Very good cool family. Like and subscribe to the channel to know everything about Barcelona. In this video, we have a huge bombshell regarding Madrid, but before that, we need to talk about some very important topics concerning our beloved club. Let's move on to the first one. The transfer market continues to shake up Barcelona's offices strongly, and in this case, with a name that is resonating more and more insistently in the corridors of the camp, Alex Baena. The talented Villarreal midfielder, considered one of the brightest jewels of current Spanish football, is determined to make a qualitative leap in his career, and according to the prestigious journalist Fabrizio Romano, Barcelona remains well ahead in the race to secure his services, despite strong interest from heavyweight clubs like Arsenal, Inter Milan, and Atletico de Madrid. From the Blaugrana offices, the enthusiasm is not hidden. The interest is real, deep, and strategic. This is not an improvised operation, but a thoughtful decision supported by the new project led by Hansi Flick. Since his arrival, the German coach has begun meticulously planning each piece of his scheme, and in this football map, Alex Baena appears as a priority recruitment. Flick considers that his style of play, vision, ability to associate between the lines, and his excellent mid-range shot make him an ideal footballer for the game model he wants to implement at Barcelona. Internal conversations have been intense and constant. Flick has conveyed to the management his green light, but not only that. He has also indicated that Baena can become one of the most important players on the team if he manages to take the step and adapt to the level of demand that playing at the camp represents. The coach particularly appreciates his tactical intelligence, hard-working attitude, and versatility in midfield, where he can occupy several positions without losing an ounce of performance. From the player's side, the signals coming from his entourage are very positive. Alex Baena is willing to leave Villarreal this summer market. He considers having completed a cycle within the Valencian community team and that the time has come to seek new sporting challenges that allow him to grow, mature, and consolidate in a competitive first-level environment. And among all the options on the table, the project that seduces him the most is Barcelona's. Not only for the prestige of the club or the atmosphere of the camp, but because he sees in Flick a coach with clear ideas, capable of enhancing his talent and giving him prominence. Villarreal is aware of this situation and, although it does not want to lose its star, it will not be able to retain him if Barcelona decides to make a convincing offer. The figure being handled is 35 million euros, a high sum but affordable if we consider the performance that Baena can offer in the medium and long term. At Can Barca, they are already analyzing how to structure this operation, even considering variables to facilitate the conclusion of the agreement. Everything indicates that the operation could accelerate in the coming weeks, especially if the club manages to activate one of the famous financial levers that have had so much prominence in recent summers. Barcelona's interest has been interpreted by many analysts as a demonstration that the club continues to bet on young, national talent with room for growth. Alex Baena not only responds to a sporting need, but also to a game identity. His style fits perfectly with Barcelona's historical philosophy: touch, vision, associative ability, and sense of rhythm. In addition, his competitive character and professionalism are highly valued values in a dressing room that needs players committed to the project and willing to give everything for the shirt. In parallel, the other clubs interested in the player have not remained inactive. Mikel Arteta's Arsenal has been following him closely for some time and has even maintained informal contacts with his entourage. Inter Milan, for its part, also appreciates his profile and considers him a strategic option in its idea of rejuvenating the midfield. And Atletico de Madrid has inquired about his situation, although it is recognized that the player's preference for Barcelona complicates their plans. In this scenario, Barcelona starts with a significant advantage: the player's will. Baena sees Barcelona as his natural destination, a club where he can grow, fight for titles, and establish himself as one of the greats of Spanish football. And that, in the world of transfers, often makes the difference. When the player wants to come and the coach wants him in his squad, everything is easier. It's a matter of time, financial strategy, and firmness in negotiation. The national sports press has begun to echo the movement, and in many media, it is starting to be said that Barcelona is increasingly close to finalizing the transfer. In radio programs and football debates, the name of Alex Baena is heard strongly, and the majority opinions coincide. It would be a great success, a footballer with talent, ambition, and room for improvement who can adapt well to the team's style and represents a bet for the present and the future. The Cule supporters, for their part, are also beginning to get excited about this possibility. On social networks, fans are enthusiastic about Baena's eventual arrival and highlight his ability to make a difference, his technique, and his youth. Some see him as the type of player who can bring dynamism and imagination back to the midfield, and who can become one of the most beloved players by the fans if he manages to perform at his level. From this humble Cule tribune, we can only show our full support for this transfer. Alex Baena represents everything that Barcelona should look for in this market: youth, talent, commitment, and projection. If the transfer materializes, Barcelona not only gains a great player but also sends a clear message to the football world. We are still an attractive club, with an ambitious sports project and the ability to compete for the best. That is why, from here, we want to ask all Cule supporters, what do you think of this possible transfer? Does the arrival of Alex Baena at the camp excite you? Do you think he can be a key piece in Hansi Flick's new project? Are we facing a total success of the sports management? The summer begins, but at the camp, we are already starting to feel the heat of the market. Baena's transfer could be one of the most important moves of this window, not only for what it means in sporting terms but also for what it represents in terms of identity, style, and ambition. If everything goes its course, it is very likely that we will soon see him wearing the blue and garnet shirt and jumping onto the stadium's pitch to demonstrate that he is ready to shine at the highest level. The second piece of news concerns an important decision in our beloved club. The transfer market machine has started to turn with force, and while the media spotlights of the Premier League are focused on a supposed battle between Liverpool and Newcastle to secure Joao Pedro, the real story is unfolding in the county town. For while the English clubs prepare to fight for the Brazilian striker from Brighton, Barcelona has already taken the first firm steps to make him the great reinforcement of the new Blaugrana project. And this is not just a passing interest. Joao Pedro is a name highlighted in red by Hansi Flick, the new Cule coach, as one of the main targets to strengthen the attacking front. The arrival of the German coach has represented a breath of fresh air for Barca fans, who are experiencing a stage of renewal and enthusiasm at the idea of seeing their team dominate in Europe again. Flick, with his offensive mentality, his bet on dynamism and intensity, has conveyed from day one the need to incorporate young, hungry, overflowing profiles capable of interpreting the game from multiple registers. In this context, Joao Pedro fits like a glove. His speed, dribbling ability, arrival in the box, positional versatility, and goal-scoring flair make him a modern, complete footballer, perfectly suited to what the new Barcelona is looking to build. Joao Pedro has been one of the great revelations of Brighton, a team which, despite its modest status in English football, has shown it has a competitive structure and a great ability to enhance young talent. The Brazilian has not only stood out for his goal-scoring statistics but also for his ability to link up, understand the movements of his teammates, and adapt to different tactical schemes. In a league as demanding as the Premier League, he has managed to stand out and attract the attention of several European giants. But if there is one club that can offer him something more than a lucrative contract, it is Barcelona. From a sporting point of view, Joao Pedro could become a fundamental player within the new Cule machinery. Flick wants him not only for his numbers but for what he represents: youth, ambition, talent, and room for improvement. At 22 years old, the Brazilian still has a long way to go, but he has already given clear signs that he is ready to take a leap to a team with greater aspirations. The Camp Nou could be the ideal scenario to consolidate his growth and transform himself into a key figure for the future of the club. The Blaugrana sports management, aware of the importance of getting the transfers right this summer, has placed Joao Pedro at the forefront of its planning. This is not an easy operation, as Brighton is not under economic pressure and has already made it clear that it will not let him go for less than €70 million. However, Barcelona considers this a strategic investment. Betting heavily on a striker of his characteristics could guarantee a decade of performance at the highest level. In an inflationary and increasingly competitive market, this type of opportunity cannot be missed. Moreover, the player views the possibility of landing in Barcelona very favorably. Joao Pedro wants to leave Brighton. That's a fact. His own entourage has hinted that his time in the south of England has come to an end and that he is now looking for new horizons where he can fight for titles and compete at the highest level. The idea of playing in a mythical stadium like the Camp Nou, under the orders of a coach like Flick and in a team that always bets on young talent, is extremely attractive to him. It's not all about money. Joao Pedro wants to grow, and Barcelona can offer him the perfect environment to do so. From a tactical point of view, his incorporation would give the team a new dimension. Joao Pedro can play as a centre-forward, but also as a second striker. His constant mobility generates spaces. His reading of the game improves offensive associations, and his instinct in the box allows him to finish with quality. Moreover, He is not a player who disconnects from the game when he doesn't have the ball. He presses, recovers, and sacrifices himself for the team. Flick greatly appreciates this type of involvement, which is why he has singled him out as a key piece in his new lineup. In the club's offices, not only his immediate footballing contribution is appreciated, but also the media and commercial impact he can have. Joao Pedro is a rising figure in Brazil, and his transfer could strengthen the club's ties with the South American market, which has historically been an inexhaustible nursery of talent for Barcelona. Players with charisma, youth, talent, and Brazilian roots have triumphed at the Camp Nou. And Joao Pedro has all the ingredients to follow this path. But beyond institutional strategies, there is a reality that cannot be overlooked. Barca fans want enthusiasm. After seasons of transition, economic adjustments, institutional challenges, and changes on the bench, the supporters need to dream again. And transfers like Joao Pedro's could be the first step to igniting that spark, because this is not a galactic marketing operation or a transfer to fill the pages of newspapers. It's about bringing in a player who has everything to perform, to improve the team, and to become one of the references of the new era. That's why, from here, we want to ask all Blaugrana supporters, what do you think of Joao Pedro? Do you believe he is the type of striker that the new Barcelona of Hansi Flick needs? Do you agree that a strong investment should be made for a player who offers not only the present but also a bright future? Do you think he can be a new idol at the Camp Nou? Does the idea of seeing a talented Brazilian leading the Blaugrana offense with audacity, joy, and commitment excite you? And Flick, with his clarity of ideas, has already made it known. He wants him as soon as possible. While in England they talk about million-dollar offers from Liverpool and Newcastle, in Barcelona they talk about football, project, identity, and that is the true differential value. Joao Pedro can become a symbol of this new stage, a player who connects with the supporters, who makes the stadium vibrate, who inspires the youngsters from the academy, and who, above all, helps to win. Because that's what it's all about in the end. Competing, lifting trophies again, bringing Barcelona back to the place it deserves. So, Kules, it's your turn. We want to know your opinion. Do you want Joao Pedro at Barcelona? Does he seem like a successful bet for this Brazilian striker? Do you believe he can mark an era? What is certain is that if he arrives, he will not be just another player. He will be a player with a leading role, with the confidence of the coach and with the support of a fan base that needs to dream again. Joao Pedro and Barcelona, a story that is just beginning to be written, but which could become a legend. The third piece of news concerns a major coup for our club. Barcelona has officially announced one of the most anticipated moves of this transfer market. Piero Hincapie will be a new Blaugrana player starting from next season. The Ecuadorian defender, who has distinguished himself at Bayer Leverkusen in recent campaigns, thus becomes the first major reinforcement of the new project led by German coach Hansi Flick. The agreement between the two entities was concluded for €45 million, of which €35 million will be paid as a fixed payment and the remaining €10 million will come via variables linked to individual and collective objectives. The announcement has generated enthusiasm not only in the county town but also in Ecuador, where the media are celebrating what they consider a giant step in the young centre-back's career. Piero Hincapie arrives not only with the endorsement of his performance in the Bundesliga, where he has been a key piece in Bayer Leverkusen's scheme, but also with the support of Barcelona's new coach, Hansi Flick, who has already spoken personally with the player to explain what his role will be within the team. This meeting was crucial for the Ecuadorian footballer to confirm his decision to wear the Blaugrana jersey. Flick conveyed his confidence to him, explained that he considers him an essential part of the new project, and made it clear that he will not be a filler reinforcement, but a defensive pillar with important minutes and responsibilities from the start. From Bayer Leverkusen's side, the operation is already considered closed. The German club, aware that it was impossible to retain the player given the magnitude of the offer and the player's will, has already begun the search for a replacement. In Germany, the transfer has been seen as an opportunity to reinvest in new talents, but also as a sensitive loss in the defensive machinery of a team that has shown this season both in the Bundesliga and in European competitions. On the other side of the Atlantic, in Ecuador, the news has caused a real stir. All the media outlets in the Andean country have devoted themselves to covering Piero's transfer to the Catalan club, qualifying it as a historic event for Ecuadorian football. And it is no less. Never before has a player born in Ecuador managed to sign for Barcelona, making this operation a historic event. From Quito to Guayaquil, passing through Esmeraldas, where the centre-back is from, social networks have exploded with pride, reflecting a job well done, a career planned with intelligence, a young man who bet on his growth in Europe and who now lands in one of the most demanding and glorious scenarios on the planet of football. Hincapie is 22 years old, but already shows the maturity of a veteran. His ability to lead a defensive line, his reading of the game, his aggressiveness in marking, his composure in individual duels, and his ability to play out from the back make him an ideal profile for Barcelona. In recent years, the club has suffered from a lack of defensive solidity, especially in key matches. With the arrival of the Ecuadorian, the aim is precisely to resolve this structural weakness. It is not just a tactical issue, but also one of character, commitment, and dedication. Hincapie arrives with a fighting spirit, ready to earn his place, compete, and contribute from the first minute. Hansi Flick himself is convinced of this. The German coach, who knows the Bundesliga perfectly and has closely followed the player's evolution, considers that Piero can adapt easily to the system he plans to implement in the team. A system in which high pressing, clean ball possession, positional rigor, and aggressiveness in duels will be key. Hincapie fits like a glove into this model. He has international experience, has played matches of the highest demand, and has demonstrated on multiple occasions that he does not shy away from big challenges. From a financial point of view, the operation should also be evaluated positively. In an inflationary market where prices for young defenders have skyrocketed in recent years, paying $45 million for a center-back who has already demonstrated elite level is undoubtedly a success, and even more so considering that a large part of the total sum will be paid in variables conditioned to performance. That is, the club protects its investment and will only pay the total if the footballer achieves the set objectives. A move that shows maturity in management and reflects that Barcelona is learning to move more intelligently in the market. The arrival of Piero Hincapie also brings a very powerful symbolic component. Barcelona once again becomes a desired destination for young talents from around the world, even for those who are already established in important leagues. Hincapie could have chosen other destinations, clubs that were also bidding for his transfer. However, he chose the camp, he chose the badge, he chose to be part of this new cycle, and that, for the Gules, has an incalculable value. In a time when money seems to dominate everything, finding players who prioritize the sports project and the historical prestige of the club is something we must highly value. Moreover, we cannot overlook the international projection that this transfer represents. Barcelona strengthens its presence in the Latin American market, further tightening ties with a region that has been the cradle of many of the club's great idols. Ecuador, a country that has grown exponentially in football terms in recent years, will now be represented in the most important team in the world. And this not only generates sympathies but also opens new doors in terms of scouting, sponsors, and overall brand development. As a Cule, I am personally delighted with this transfer, not only for what it means in sporting terms but also for what it conveys in emotional terms. Now is the time to welcome him and support him in this new challenge. We know that adapting to Barcelona is not easy, that the pressure is enormous, and that every mistake is analyzed under a microscope. But we also know that the Cule fan base, when they see commitment and dedication, responds with affection, and I am sure that Piero will earn the respect and applause of the camp. And now I ask you, Cule brothers, what do you think of Hincapie's arrival? Do you believe he can establish himself as one of the great center-backs of the club? Do you like his style of play? Do you think he is the type of profile we needed to reinforce? What do you expect from his first season at Barcelona? Do you see this transfer as a step forward in the reconstruction of the team? Your opinion, as always, is key to fueling the debate and continuing to build together this feeling that unites us. With steps like this, Barcelona is once again leading the way. There is still much to do, but if the path is traveled with intelligence and passion, success will be closer. Leave us your opinion in the comments.